Howdy, Liz.
Howdy. Hello. How are you this evening?
Oh, doing great, actually.
Fantastic. Well, tonight it's about you and not me. I may have to input some here and there, but I wanted to talk about Reiki because I've never had a Reiki session. I don't really know what it is in detail that you do, how you do, what is it you're doing. I wanted to learn all about that. And of course, we can always call on our good friends, Jesus and Bashar to give us more information. So tell me, when did you first get into Reiki?
Let's see. It was about 4 years ago. Is when I finally figured it out, like the Reiki part. So, but this story kind of starts many years before that with me just feeling really not good at all. I just felt sick, and I went to every kind of Western medicine traditional doctor you can go to, did a lot of tests, a lot of blood work, a lot of stuff, and they basically all said I was normal. I've done a lot of things to, check all my 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 paranoid research to, see, I thought I had all these issues, and I still think there's actually some more issues that I could look up and look into to see if I have those still. So I haven't tested everything, but long story short, they all essentially said I was relatively well, and young and such. So, and that's the problem with being young, is doctors dismiss you and they think you're just kind of being, there's a word for it, but I genuinely didn't feel great. And let's just say, I don't know, 2 years of that went by, and my mother booked me an appointment with a cranial sacral therapist, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I went and got I went to the session, and cranial sacral therapy is pretty interesting because it doesn't seem like there's really much happening. So I thought I was going to.
I've heard of this before. What do they do?
So all my therapist did was actually just move my neck back and forth rhythmically, and they're pushing on different points. And there's actually one aspect about it that I don't know if I believe. They seem to, when they talk to you about what they're doing, they say that they're lowering certain cycles per second or cycles per minute of different issues that you have. I don't know if they're psychic or how they guesstimate those numbers, but it felt really nice, and it honestly felt like a very deep healing hypnosis experience, and felt really good. And when I stood up, it felt like I had just woken up from like a coma, like the first time I have walked in like a month. Like, it was very weird, like coming back to my senses. And I have to kind of explain this whole story. And basically I felt really good, and the next day I woke up and I felt like a totally new person. And either he called me or I called him for my next appointment, and he asked how I was doing, and I was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Because I feel so much better. And long story short, I found out he was also doing Reiki too while he was doing the cranial sacral therapy. because when you know how to flow energy, you can actually do. There's actually massage therapists who are actually Reiki attuned, and Reiki is just Japanese Rei and Ki, which means life force energy. So in other words, it's just the ability to transfer the energy from the universe through you, and send it through your hands. And so there's actually a little bit of a backstory. A lot of massage therapists and actually a lot of nurses too. But for the nurses, it's usually more of a secret, are actually attuned to Reiki, and they'll heal their clients when they're like asleep or something. But anyways, it's just the ability to flow energy through your body. And once I found out that he did Reiki, I just started going to just Reiki therapists instead of cranial sacral therapy, mostly because of the cost, not because of any other reason. And I had the same beneficial effects. And after like 2 years of that, I met a really cool Reiki therapist, and she, like, from day one, like, she was like partly psychic. She was like, "Oh, I know you're supposed to be a healer, and you're gonna I'm gonna attune you." And attunement is when they basically just open up your crown chakra. And an attunement, the word itself means, you're matching one thing to another thing's frequency. So it's a gift that's passed from person to person. So like a person that can do Reiki, and that, even just saying that's a little misleading, because Reiki people aren't really doing much. It's really just knowledge of what's happening, because I can't make energy truly flow through me. What's really happening is I'm kind of asking the energy to flow, and it's this universal life force energy that is kind of like agreeing to pass through me, because it has its own will, because some people would describe it as like a god energy, or god, or we can actually get some clarification with some of your psychic abilities on exactly what the energy is, even though we've covered it in one of our videos in the past. But this will be kind of an all-encompassing video. So on that note, actually, can we pull in Jesus, which is the most familiar person for this side of the world?
Okay, yeah.
They're
really getting to know you. Well, I mean, I know people say, but Liz, Jesus knows everybody, if they're a hardcore Christian. I mean, just because we probe them so much, they're like, hello, hi.
Yeah. What is Jesus okay with being pulled in on this one?
Absolutely.
Cool. So one of our pros, we got that, it's not necessarily, humans shouldn't get too much access to too much knowledge. So I'm always like,
that's wondering. True. That's what keeps us in this mass state of confusion and going through the motions. But you and I know that having that knowledge, getting rid of that confusion, having that consciousness expansion, that is what makes you ascend, consciousness ascension anyway.
mm-hmm.
What would you like to know?
Can you ask Jesus what the energy is that flows through a Reiki healer typically when they're doing Reiki?
It's source energy.
And can you ask if that energy is an extension of source itself, like like source directly touching the human, crossing that non-physical to physical border? Is it actually, or is it kind of like a small fragment of source?
Is it a small fragment of source? Yes, it's very minute. So that's a great question. We actually only need a very minute, like droplet of that energy in order for it to have great effects. The more energy that you can, pull down, the better, but you have to be careful, right? We as humans, we want to connect with all this different types of energy, but if we were to connect with direct source energy in its purest form and have unlimited access to it, we would probably combust.
Yeah. Yeah, we got that once. Can you ask him if the amount of energy that flows in during a session has to do with the practitioner's will at all, or is the amount of energy that flows just going to happen, determined by source compared to, my will?
As in will, WILL, or wheel?
Oh, WILL, like the amount of energy that flows through me. I'm just wondering, because like Reiki people, we essentially want as much energy to flow through us as possible, but like I said, it seems like it has a mind of its own, and it seems to flow differently for each individual. Can you ask Jesus why that is?
Why does it flow differently for each individual? It depends upon vibrational frequencies.
Does it depend upon the frequency of the receiver or the healer?
Does it depend upon the frequency of the receiver? No, the healer. But also there has to be a match, right? A lot of times, everybody's different, like you said, and you have to be able to have that energetic match. You don't want to mismatch. Do you see what I mean?
Well, can you ask Jesus what the healer should be matching to?
What healer should be matching to? The receiver's vibrational frequency.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying the healer needs to match to the person being treated.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, so for me, all that stuff happens automatically. Because I feel like that's a metaphysical thing that you can't comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
So can you ask Jesus if that function happens from our oversoul or our soul at a higher level than consciousness, or like our physical consciousness?
In our physical consciousness. No, you're actually trying to match them at their conscious level at first. Then, as you start doing your work, you're going in and you're matching deeper. But the first thing you're going to meet is the consciousness.
But I'm wondering if the mechanism of matching vibrations to another person, if that is happening, via the work of our soul in the background.
No. Let me give you what Jesus is telling me. With what you're doing, and I understand this because I can come across this as well. If you get someone who's highly skeptical, who has a lot of fear, who has a lot of blockages there, you are going to have to connect with them at a conscious mind level first. And then, that fear, those blockages start to drop. They let their guard down. That's when you go in and you're starting to connect with them at a soul level. I do the same thing. Listen, Anybody who has had a reading with me, you know, the first couple of minutes of the reading, what are we doing? We're chatting. We're chatting away. How are you? What am I doing at that point? I'm matching their energy. They don't know that. I know that, right? I'm matching their energy. I could be really, really upbeat because I usually am, and somebody who is extremely distraught wants to speak with me, right? I have to go in, and within those first couple of minutes, I'm talking to them and I'm matching their energy. Because if I go blazing in at their conscious mind, guess what they're going to do? They're going to shut down. Now, at that point, if they shut down, how good would your Reiki session be? It's not going to be beneficial at all. So what Jesus is saying is correct. You have to match them at a conscious mind level first.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that I don't think that happens from my own perspective on my own conscious level. Not necessarily, I'm not really talking about my client, just the healer. This is just information for the healers. I'm just wondering if, you know, our willpower has much to do with it.
No, it really has to do with vibrational frequency.
And can you ask Jesus if that frequency has to do with the moment that we were attuned?
No, it has to do before the attunement, the attuning. I don't even know what you mean by attunement. I know we did a whole thing on it, but as you know, being a psychic medium, it goes in one ear, it goes out the other. I don't remember anything. I don't have time to go back and listen to the videos. Explain attunement again, please.
Yeah. So when you get an attunement, by the way, I can do attunements for people. I've attuned a couple people. What happens is you're transferring the source vibration into another individual's crown, in which is how, like those other photos I was just showing, that it unlocks. It's like a tuning fork. So we are tuning forks essentially, and from my understanding, the Reiki attunement is basically unblocking. I mean, everyone has an open chakra, but it's more like of an unblocking and a tuning to the source energy frequency, which as soon as you pass it on, then that person all of a sudden can access the energy basically at will. Can you just ask Jesus what an attunement is from his perspective?
What is attunement? It's very simple. It's matching vibrational frequency.
Let's clarify. Can you ask Jesus what happens during a Reiki attunement?
What happens during the Reiki attunement? It's a deeper level of understanding between both parties.
And can you ask him why the person receiving, why they are able to pull in source energy after an attunement?
Why is it they can pull in source energy after an attunement? Because you've opened a portal through yourself.
And does Jesus think that's okay with God? Is that good?
Oh, you would ask that. Do you think that that's okay? No, of course not. He doesn't think so. No. But, you know, you have to think about the old teachings, which is, you know, and he's very strictly aligned with, which is, you know, you shouldn't be making contact with this, that, and the other.
But it's contact with source.
But it's contact with source. Yeah, he's aware of that. But that's assuming that you have that contact with source. It's assuming that nothing is blocking that contact with you and source. If you have some dark entity that is coming in, you know, especially to someone who's not trained in this stuff, and you have dark entity, you could actually screw someone up badly by grabbing energy that is masked as source energy, but it actually isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So you could go two ways with this conversation. One is, that intention, and through the attunements, since they were attuned to source energy, once you're attuned, if you were to read any Reiki book, it would say once you're attuned to source energy forever. And I wouldn't personally worry about pulling in any other type of energy, because I ask every single time I pull an energy specifically for source energy to flow through me. So I don't know.
But let's just add though that you were trained. You've trained in this.
Yeah, obviously. Well, what if devil's advocate is, can you ask Jesus, is if someone who wasn't trained has been attuned, by me, would they pull in source energy?
Someone who wasn't trained and has been attuned by you. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the belief in any Reiki book. So I'm glad that aligned. Is, it's just my perspective is that we're tuning forks, and I'm tuning you into the source energy frequency. So anyways, just for fun, can we ask Jesus about this symbol right here? It's called Chakra.
Okay.
So when I am doing a session with somebody, sorry, I gotta plug in my computer. I can feel what's interesting is, I'm sure you might relate to this in the psychic, when you're doing like a psychic session and their dead relatives start showing up before they even start asking questions.
Oh yeah.
It's I think it's somewhat similar. As soon as I'm in the presence of someone and they know they're going to get some Reiki healing, and I know we're going to do Reiki healing, I can feel the energy start to flow through my hands. But to be honest, the Reiki symbol Chakra, which is the, I don't know, Japanese, this is a whole other topic into itself, but this dramatically increases the amount of energy that flows through me if I draw the symbol in the air, because it's representing source right here. It's basically what you would reference as an ideogram. Is I'm saying source energy, please connect with me, and all energy around me, come into me and magnify. It's like a magnifier of source energy symbol. Can you ask Jesus why the Chakra symbol works?
Because it's setting an intention.
And that's what's really
why does the tapping work, right? Everybody always asks that question. Why is it the bilateral tapping works? Because it's magnifying your intention.
Right.
I feel that that's the same thing for here.
Yeah. So it's a physical manifestation of intention, because I feel like mental intention can only go so far, but as soon as you start tapping, like with CTT or me, I draw this, into the air. I'm like bringing it out into the reality, quote unquote reality. We can go on a deep dive on what is reality, but we're manifesting our thoughts, right? When you're tapping or drawing a symbol or something like that. Okay, so so anyways, I do Reiki, and I was taught these symbols. They're all very interesting. This is called Honshaze Shonen. That's a great one. I like this one for supposedly. So this is what's interesting, is they all have their own purpose. This one is the ability to work on the past versions of yourself, or even future. So this one kind of breaks through the timeline, and I can actually send Reiki to like myself on like my 13th birthday or whatever. And, you know, if I fell down that day or something. So there's some really cool stuff you can do with Reiki. Some other neat things you can do. What I used to do, I don't do it anymore because I don't know. You don't want to get too paranoid, and you know, you can get into a cycle where you can't live a normal day until you start drawing these all over the place. But well, what I would do, like, to have a really deep sleep, is I would draw one of these like on each corner of my room and the roof and the floor and my bed. And that's just stuff you find in Reiki books that most people probably wouldn't do, but only like a Reiki practitioner like me might do. And supposedly you're creating a huge barrier to block out any negative energy, stuff like that. But this would be a better conversation if you had some questions on Reiki, because I could just blab randomly.
Well, I mean, I do have questions on Reiki. So after you draw that symbol, what is the next step?
Okay, yeah. So a step-by-step basis, when I work with someone, like what I'm doing, And first of all, most of my clients are remote, so I don't really work on it too many people in person ever since the great event we went through recently.
The C word, yeah.
But what's really cool is that you learn how. What's really interesting about Reiki is you learn that energy transmission. First of all, it's coming from source, which is who knows where. Let's just, for the sake of fun, say it's a billion miles away to me. So, it's not that much of a leap for me to actually work on someone remotely. And this is actually kind of how I work on people remotely. And interestingly enough, I can feel each chakra with my hands in the air as if they were in front of me. But yeah, so what I would do is I would imagine I have the clients with me, and I would run my hands in the air over their body. I would feel the aura for any disturbances, which in the books are described as tears in their aura. And I just set the intention for the energy to heal the tears. And I create a white protective barrier around them to have like a safe healing session. And then I ask everything that. So we did like an investigative video on Reiki, and I've updated a lot of my practices from the questions we've asked Jesus and stuff. So everything I do, I ask Source for each step of the way. I say, Source, can you help me put a barrier, and can you help me ground this person? And then so we ground, and then then I ask Source to flow through me. And then I usually ask the client to kind of out loud make a verbal mental allowance that they will heal and that they accept energy, because we were mentioning that some people have that barrier where they're just kind of waiting for something to happen, but that the frequency changes when the person accepts. They're making that manifestation by saying, I accept this healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we make that verbal agreement that they do accept the healing and they do want to heal, because some people don't truly want to heal, and they just, who knows what they want. But the session changes once that happens. More energy starts flowing. And then I just Funny enough, this is kind of actually the size of the person I work with. I kind of visualize and compress the person down into, I don't know, about a 9-inch orb, and I run my hands through, and I can just feel each chakra, and I I do that several times to find out where I need to work on more than others. Like, if a chakra is very compressed, it needs to open up, and it would just, for me, it would feel like a hardness in the air. So I can feel it with my hands. I don't know what you would call that. It's like a psychic sensation, I guess. And then typically a Reiki practitioner, after they do this, they would call it a scan. Then you would start from the bottom and work your way up to the crown. And I just manifest the energy to flow and open each chakra. And I spend more time on the ones that are, needing more help. And then we get to the top, and I tell the clients, which chakra I'm working on, of course. And I always mention what color the chakra is specifically. That way, it helps a lot. I notice for the client when they visualize. So, for instance, I would say, right here, visualize, your heart chakra getting brighter and brighter, or you can imagine a flower bud opening up, like each leaf petal opening up and releasing, whatever was binding it. And, I'm also grounding at the same time. So the negative energy has somewhere to go. So we I ground each chakra personally. Most people just ground the whole body, but I ground everything. And once we do that, we have conversations about where they need more energy work done. Usually I can actually tell where they needed the energy, and I usually just say, "Oh, your legs need a lot of help, don't they?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, my leg's broken." So,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
because my hands will tingle and flush a lot more over an area in my brain 3D version of them, wherever my hands are. So, and actually on that note, this is actually what I look like pretty much when I'm doing this. I'm just working on a mini version of them in front of me. And since this is the Mr. Robot special episode, I was wondering if you wanted to do an experiment to see if you could validate that I am sending energy.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's do it.
Because you never had Reiki sent to you, but I mean, you're very familiar with how source energy feels because you've done a white light experiment on yourself once, right?
Yeah, yeah. I know how it feels. Yeah. But you've always wanted me to do it with you. And I'm like, well, I just don't know. I don't want it to knock me out of alignment.
Well, luckily enough, you can fix yourself if I mess you
That's true.
up.
I don't think you will.
Cool. Well, and I'm just gonna do knowing you are, you're most likely grounded, and I can ask you that you're very grounded. I feel like I can skip a lot of the easy stuff and just go straight to just sending you energy and see if you can validate if that's happening or not. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay, well, let me
I
just
can already feel you're connected into me.
yeah. So it's just a mental connection so far, and then right now I'm just gonna prepare by pulling in more energy first. And then now I will draw the Chakra symbol.
I feel like the energy is hitting my back.
And now I am doing my 3D version of you. I'm waving energy through your whole body, all your chakras. Just this is the scan phase that I would do with a client.
And you can be honest. If there's something that needs fixing, let me know.
Well, so far I feel the most energy towards your feet right now.
Oh.
Maybe you're on your feet too much.
No, I'm not on
Oh.
my feet enough. I know why you're saying that, but that is correct.
Yeah, we don't want to reveal any personal matters, but can you validate that you feel any energy flowing to you right now?
Yeah, I can feel it hitting me in the back.
And so what's interesting about,
Oh, wait a minute. You just hit me on my left side of my stomach.
yeah, so my hands are just going through you right now, and it's kind of like ping pong where,
Yeah, it's crazy. That's exactly what it felt like.
yeah, the energy will just kind of do what it needs to do, honestly.
So what is it doing to me?
So, awesomely enough, what is really cool about it, Reiki energy, source energy? Before I answer that question, can you ask Jesus what is happening to you this moment?
Oh, you're so cool. What has happened? He's trying to unblock you. I can feel it. I've never had this done. My whole legs are tingling. Everything's tingling.
Yeah, that's the energy flowing, and I'm so glad you're experiencing it.
I've never done this before. I don't know anything about Reiki. I can okay, now you've moved.
Yeah, I'm just going up a bit.
You're over my chest area.
Yeah, working. Watch, I will get a crystal, which should work a little bit better.
Uh-oh. Does that magnify it?
What it does is it kind of makes like a laser pinpoint, and it can like help if there's any like issues opening up a chakra, or if there's uh like a cancer or anything anyone has.
A cancer.
Well, I'm just saying, for example, not that you have it.
Oh, okay. You scared me.
Oh, you were just saying, what does the crystal do? And I would just use it over any kind of issue. In other words,
Are you picking up any issues?
honestly, I don't really feel much wrong with you at all. I feel like you
Thank
know,
God.
you feel like you didn't even need any.
No, the feet issue is correct. I don't know what it is lately, but I've got all these food allergy, I'm very sensitive. And for whatever reason, lately when I eat certain things, like I can feel it in my feet. It's
Hmm.
really weird. It like makes me feel really uncomfortable. I'm just, hypersensitive. So
Mm-hmm.
that's funny that you picked up on that. What was it that you got? Like that's an area that needs work or
I just felt a heaviness, concentration of the energy, which means that it needs to be unblocked.
mm,
So what you could do, what it sounds like to me, just I mean, besides the true, you know, physiology, it's the physiology aspect is likely that um, you know, all the blood goes through your feet, and
oh
that's supposedly that's where the toxins. Have you ever seen those socks that you can put like
yeah.
rice in your socks or some weird stuff? I don't know. There's a lot of
Yeah.
theories, a lot of theories on that. But energetically, what it feels like is that you just have to kind of connect your feet to the earth more, just ground more, and I think you'll be totally fine.
Okay.
But
That
that's
was
just
so freaky though when I felt that do 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 do. I felt it.
it's awesome.
Mm. So that was like a mini session. Now, how do you
Yeah.
close this down? Oh, you're muted. There you
All
go.
right. Well, what was that?
I'm sorry. So how do you close down?
So what I would do is I actually cut. It's called a psychic cord, and I kind of remove myself from your field, and I um Well, before that, I would kind of polish off the aura to make sure that it's all just perfectly white and free of any terrors. So let me actually do that for you right now.
Are there any tears in my aura?
Let's see. You feel right as rain.
Thank God. Actually, while you were doing it, I had an orb float by me.
Can you somehow ask
Woo!
what that was?
What was that you just did?
Oh, I'm working. You have a lot of energy vibing around your head area.
Yes, I felt that zap. What was that?
Well, I'm just working on the aura right around your head because you got a lot of like congestion up there. I don't know what it is. It's just
Oh,
probably
well,
from you
I've
being a
had a bad
psychic.
cold.
Oh, I mean in an energetic sense.
Oh.
It's a lot of this stuff is hard to explain because Reiki people, we truly don't really even know what it is.
Oh my God, I felt that.
But we can just feel that we're doing something, and basically we just work until we don't feel anything anymore, and then that's when we know we're done.
I felt that.
What did you feel just now?
It was like a zap.
So actually, interestingly enough, since you can channel source, can you ask source what is happening when you feel the zaps?
Oh, what is happening when we feel the zaps? That's my energy being thrust into you.
And what is happening during a Reiki treatment from source's perspective?
It's healing.
Cool.
You're flowing things. You're making things flow.
Yeah, it's the practice of returning the flow that is supposed to be there. So every chakra is supposed to be getting energy, you know, at a nice amount. And if you were to read a Reiki book, what it would say is that disease is basically a certain chakra, a certain area blocked from getting energy. And the energy that we're referring to is the source energy, which is what makes you live. So disease is, the blockage of source energy to a certain part of your body, which is, that's just what the Reiki perspective is.
Wow. That is so cool. And you know what? I actually feel better. Like I feel more relaxed. I feel more at ease. I don't know. I definitely feel better. I feel like you've unclogged some things.
Mm-hmm.
That was so awesome. I've never had that before.
And
thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And what's really cool about a Reiki session, first of all, I have to say is that some people don't feel anything. So some people out there, just because you don't feel anything just means that you're not energetically sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Liz is sensitive to whatever higher frequencies.
Everything. So. Everything.
Yeah. So she can tell when things are happening, but some people just don't feel anything at all. But what I was going to say, the real magic of it is actually comes from the next day, because from what I understand, the healing kind of actually happens all night long, because you have opened up areas, that were supposed to be flowing. And when you go to sleep, your body is technically in the most restorative phase. Mm-hmm. And my long point is that the next day, most Reiki clients is like their best day. So let me know how you feel tomorrow.
I will, most definitely. This is so cool. My third eye is like
oh, really, and that's is. So something else that's interesting is I used to actually go live, and I used to get like 300 viewers, and I would do Reiki sessions for people, like 300 people at a time, and And some people would come find me to open their third eye more, because
Mhm.
when you're sending the Reiki energy, and by the way, this is who we probe. This is the guy who came up with
Oh,
the whole thing. And but some people use Reiki energy, or at least we attempt to do it, to open their third eye more. And I can't say if it's worked or not, because I feel like everyone has their own soul
uh,
contract on whether or not that is actually going to open for them in their lifetime. But
yeah, mine is like spinning. Why is it we need spinning energy centers to absorb energy?
that's a great function of the universe kind of question, um, because
Oh, okay, I got the answer. Do you want to know the answer?
yeah, why is it spinning?
Because I'm like, why? Because I can feel my third eye is like, that's what's making it. Um, gosh, yeah, I can feel the energy like flowing in. The reason it's spinning is because to keep a constant flow, you don't want to take in negatives and have them just sitting there, right?
Mhm.
You have to have this spinning motion to keep this constant flow and balance. Now, sometimes you will get out of balance. This is coming from source. You will get out of balance, and that's where, like, diseases and things start forming.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times trapped emotions slow the spinning down.
Yeah.
And it alters the DNA, it alters the cell division process. I was just talking about this the other day on a video. And so that's why it has to spin. That's why the spinning and the flow is very, very important.
Yeah, and on that note, you mentioned the emotions. I do want to kind of mention some things that Reiki is good for.
Mhm.
It's not just physical pains and stuff. Um, Emotions can be trapped in the body, in the chakra centers.
Mhm.
And I've had a lot of Reiki clients cry while they're getting Reiki, and it's not like a painful cry. Your emotions are stored, and sometimes when they're released, it just gets released physically, and people won't even know why they're crying, but whatever is just being released. And this is I like to work with people who have trauma and they can't really heal because they've tried everything. I like to definitely
Well, it's
try.
a challenge. You know what's so interesting about your diagram? I just asked Source, where does the soul live in the body?
Mhm.
And the soul is everywhere, but where is it most concentrated? And it's behind the solar plexus. Now, that makes a lot of sense to me because when we're doing CTT, you can feel, and you've been there, Mr. Robot, you can feel it moving up, those trapped emotions a lot of
Mhm.
times moving up the body, and it comes from the solar plexus area. I don't know what you've done to my third eye, but it's still buzzing.
Yeah. So, essentially, what we do is we return everything to the state that they should be in. So you might have a higher level of psychic ability after the session.
Well, I won't complain. What are the winning lottery
I
numbers
know
for
that's what we need.
tonight? I know. Don't listen. If psychics could do that, we would all just hit the lottery and we would not be of service. I think people need to understand that.
Yep.
Wow.
Um. So
So
yeah, I mean,
chakras spin clockwise when functioning correctly.
according to this, but let's actually ask Source if it matters which way your chakras are spinning.
Yes, it does.
And does a good functioning chakra spin clockwise facing? Like if we were looking at a body, is it spinning clockwise?
If you're looking at the body,
Yeah,
I'm
like in this, yeah, because from within ourselves, our version of clockwise is this version of, what I mean, this would be counterclockwise to the outside observer. So to be clear, we want to say we're facing a person face on, and we are
Okay.
viewing it. Is a healthy chakra from our perspective flowing clockwise?
Is a healthy chakra from our perspective flowing clockwise? That's correct.
And I just want to clarify, because our perspective, source may interpret as from our own within internal perspective, and we look down on
No,
ourselves. No? Okay.
no, that was how you, no, because I showed them how I was
Okay.
looking at the diagram. I'm sorry. I
Cool.
should have explained that.
Just making sure. And if it was, well, interestingly enough, there's a word for these people. I forgot. I don't know. It's a tradition, and my mom knows all about them. I gotta ask her. I don't know. It's like southern part of the world. When someone dies, there's these special like shaman people, and they believe that the soul is trapped in the body until they counterclockwise spin each chakra. And there's a really interesting story. I don't know where the heck I read it, about how this guy, he didn't really believe it, but he was training to do it. And they had to go, there was this girl that died, and they had to go visit her body in the like church. And they counterclockwise spun each chakra in order for the soul to leave the body quicker and peacefully, or else their belief is that your soul be stuck in your body forever if you don't do that. But obviously I think we believe differently. But
Does the soul get stuck in? No,
yeah.
the soul can't stay stuck in the body.
So
Now, there was, George Duzman, who taught the CTT. He believed that you could consciously ascend and just take your body with you. I've always wondered about that. Do you mind if I ask that question?
Let's go for it.
Can you ascend with your consciousness and just take the body with you? That is correct.
But would we take this body or a parallel version of our body?
Oh, do we take this body? No. We take the etheric body. Is it a parallel version? No, it's the soul body.
Because the thing is that it's non-physical, that realm. So that's where my question would boil down to, like, how would it fit? Or okay, that is the question: is can a physical body enter the spirit world?
Ooh, can a physical body enter the spirit world? No, only etheric. Meaning, when I go up to the spirit world, because I've been up there so many times arguing, right? Y'all are gonna think that Liz, she's crazy, but I've done it. I tell you what, there's been some bad things happen to me, and I've gone up there and I've raised Cain with those people up there, those souls. I'm like, I don't know what you guys think you're doing to me down here, but this has to stop. And so, but I'm very much in my physical body, but I know that it's etheric. So I understand what they're saying. And I've gone up there and walked around before. It's it's very serene, but very uneventful, that I've found.
And this is actually reminding me of another experiment I wanted to do with you, and I don't know if we'll do it now or some other time. But
I do not like leaving my body.
but yeah, not your body, but
or anybody else's.
We talked a lot about the Akashic records. And several times you mentioned that you would have to take me into the Akashic records, and I actually know exactly what you mean by that, because I actually had a acquaintance I found on Reddit, and they would literally, I don't know how they did it, transcend my vibration up into the Akashic records, and that was the most intense, amazing feeling ever. Because I mean, for me, I wasn't astral projecting or anything, but I
Mhm.
was reaching such a high level of vibration that it felt like I was basically an astral body. And I'm wondering if that would also happen with the way you would do it. So I want that to be an experiment. Maybe we can do a separate video called Akashic Records Experiment or something like that.
Yes,
Cool. And
that would be fun.
we'll try that, because I've only been able to do it most successfully with him, and I can't reach him anymore. He doesn't check his email or something. So oh, can we ask Jesus if when I was doing that with him, if if I was in the Akashic records?
Yes, you were.
And even though I could feel that I was in a different uh space, why could I not hear anything? Like, because even he was in a different state. I don't even know where he was, and he could tell that my spirit guide was right next to me. He could hear and see all the guides that were trying to ask me to do certain things, like open up my heart chakra more. Why was I not able to hear any of that?
Because you don't have those abilities.
Yeah. Well, let's do it again though. We'll do an experiment, and it's fun because I like that. I like the sensation of being. I like being in the Akashic. I've one of I so since I'm an energy healer, I can use my techniques, and I can work with different types of energy. So like other things I've done is it depends on like what the way I'm feeling. Like if I have a really bad headache or something, sometimes I don't use the source style. I do the violet flame style healing. I've noticed it has worked better for really intense headache relief. And then another type of healing style I've tried, and this is just my own experiments. Violet flame, everyone knows about that style of healing, so that's not really my own. But um, definitely one style of healing that I think is probably somewhat unique to me is that I've used the Akashic energy as an energy to heal. So I'll pull in the Akashic energy instead of necessarily source energy, and that was one of the deepest healings I've ever done on myself. I
Let
don't
me
know.
ask about that. How is pulling in the Akashic energy healing? Because it disrupts the life plan. Is that good? If you want to manifest things, you can.
Yeah, so when I did that, I was trying to manifest myself feeling better. I felt it was like a jump forward in my healing phase. So yeah, these are different experiments that I do, and there's other ones that are probably even crazier that I don't feel like talking about right now. But
You're so funny.
yeah, I mean, I experiment with everything, but
Oh, well, as long as you're not doing any of that experimental stuff on me, we're good.
right. But something I do want to include in this video, just so it's somewhere in this video, is I did, besides all of the energy healing that I felt on myself, like the proof that I was healing came because a lot of this energy stuff, someone could say, okay, maybe it was just in my mind or whatever, or the power of suggestion. But one of the moments that validated it for me was after doing it for like a year. I I had like a non-cancerous tumor on my side. It was very small. I never thought of it as, something too bad. It was a whatever thing. And one night I was just like, oh, why don't I try Reiki on this? And I did some Reiki on it. It got really hot. And um, let's see. So interestingly enough, throughout that week, I only did it that once. And then throughout that week, it kept turning more and more red. It started looking like a pimple, which was so interesting. And then I did Reiki on it basically every week. And it kept getting like redder and more like a pimple and more like a pimple. And then on my third week of doing it, I had a vision, and I had this is like the only time I've ever had a premonition. I was just, it's a meditative state. So, my eyes are closed. I was doing Reiki on it, and I had a vision of the day after this. So I transported myself one day into the future, basically, and I saw my thing explode. It popped while I was at work, and I like had that vision. And I was like, oh, wow, that was, I don't know if it was a daydream or, it feels like a daydream. And
No.
yeah, yeah, the next day I was at work, and sure enough, the same exact thing happened. And I I didn't even remember that vision at the moment. I was just like so confused as why, that actually happened, and it actually exploded while I was at work.
Oh my
And
God, that's so cool.
and then I went to the ER, so I did some bathroom surgery on
Oh
myself,
my
and then I went to the
bathroom surgery. Oh my God.
then I went to the doctors to go see if they wanted to stitch me up, and they didn't want to. And but anyways, 3 weeks, it went from the size of a I don't know, like a really big grape, like a maybe like a really really small cuties orange, to after 3 weeks to the size of like a raisin, and then it just disappeared after it exploded. So
Wow.
now it's just scar tissue, and there's nothing there really. It's just like if you were to, people are mostly familiar with scar tissue. You could tell there was something there, but there's no ginormous. It actually at one point was the size of a golf ball. So,
Oh my
but
God, that's so cool.
so that was my physical proof that I needed to validate that, energy was actually flowing through me, and I wasn't just crazy. Because I don't know, some people. I mean, you have to. Some people are schizophrenic, and they believe that there's ants around, and maybe their shirt catches on fire. We don't see it, but it's nice to have physical proof of something that only you kind of know is real.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so amazing. I tell you, my third eye is buzzing.
Yeah,
It's
you should do some experiments tonight. See if you can view the other side of the planet. Do some remote viewing experiments.
oh, I love remote viewing. Yeah. My biggest thing is I want to be able to pull numbers and locations
Mm-hmm.
exact. Can Reiki help with that? It can. Source they just told me it can.
That's awesome. Oh, well, let's ask this. Can the flow of Reiki energy make psychics more psychic?
Can the flow of Reiki energy make psychics more psychic? Exponentially so.
Cool.
Right. I need a weekly subscription, please.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and on that note, I actually do have a special going on right now. I'm doing 20-minute sessions just for people to get their hands wet in this new to them experience. Doing 20-minute sessions for $35, and they can send that to me in any which way they want. So they can just email me and book a session if they want.
That is so awesome. It's well worth it. In fact, I'm going to get some from you for sure.
Cool.
It is so well worth it. Like, I feel so much better even from that little 5-minute thing you did. And I definitely felt the energy moving around. That was so amazing. I really appreciate that. I've been turning you down for 2 years.
I know. And you guys, for the audience, every time Liz gets each flu variant every month,
No,
I'm always like, hey, I'll send you some Reiki. She's like, oh, I'll be better soon.
yeah. Well, it's because you know what I think all this stuff is, and this would be interesting to probe. I think where we were quarantined, right? Our immune systems relaxed a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And now we're back to, full speed, which is, everybody knows I've got kids, right? My kids are in, school. And so they're in contact with these people, and the little one's in contact with those people.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, my husband works at the hospital, right?
Yeah.
So he's bringing this stuff home. It's just a mess. And we're just, the amount of exposure that we have just because of going through our daily activities. I've noticed now, and it's not just me. A lot of people are noticing there's so much more, or it seems there's so much more floating around out there. Like every other week, somebody's sick, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I feel like I want to ask this question. Is that because of the quarantine? Yes. See? So that causes what? What does that cause? Exactly what I said. My theory is correct. The immune system to relax. And so
that's fact.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. And I just think now it's just we're getting so exposed and we're not used to fighting it all the time.
Also what happens is when you use soap and sterilizers on your hands too much, you don't get the natural germs that you should be getting. And my favorite person I've ever heard this from was actually when I was in college, my anthropology teacher who studied, civilizations going extinct. She does not let her kids use soap. She makes her kids go play in the dirt and then eat their food, and she's like, we want. Yeah, well, she has them go, play in the dirt and then eat after. That way they have as much bacterial and whatever charge you want to call it. And she, the belief is, as medically proven, that you have more white blood cells and such. So
oh wow, I did not know that. Yeah, and it's true. Like your first kid, right? Oh, let me clean your hands. Let me wash 2 baths a day. Oh my God, you've got mud on your face, right? After that first kid, you're like, yeah, whatever, kid, go make a mud pie.
Yeah, I bet.
But I can, it is that way. But still, if you think about my littlest one, he was born 2 weeks before COVID hit the hospital here. And not only, he came early, he came 2 weeks early. They're like, you're in labor. I'm like, what? No, wait, this is 2 weeks early. I'm not ready for this.
Wow.
But thank God he did, because, 2 weeks later on his due date, that hospital, our local hospital, was full of COVID from top to bottom, people lining up in the parking lot to get into the ER. I'm not kidding. It was bad. They had 2 or 3 nursing homes that were taken into that hospital. So for him being a newborn, we didn't see anybody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't want anybody around the newborn. What? Don't touch my, I don't want you breathing, touching around, keep a 20-foot distance away from my newborn baby, right? We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. And even when we would go for walks outside, the neighbors would come out because, you know, we're in a very small place and everybody, I know all these people and they, oh, the baby, because they haven't seen anybody. They're just so excited to see someone and they wanted to touch the baby as well. So it got to the point where we couldn't even go outside for, you know, not certainly not during daytime hours, you know, when everybody could see us. We kind of have to hide out by the front door. And it's just, I feel like now we're in full swing, that it's just we're getting hit by all this stuff. And I'm telling you, it's like we're sick all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I think it is. I'm wondering, let me ask this question. Could Reiki boost the immune system? Absolutely. So there's another use for Reiki,
Yeah. So
just to boost the immune system.
I've had the sickness a couple times, and it's only lasted like 3 days for me each time because I just do Reiki all day on myself. I'm like, I'm not letting this thing, you know, I don't want to be sick. I'm not worried about dying or anything, but you know, I do Reiki a lot on myself. So,
Wow.
um, you know, a hangover, anything. I do a lot of Reiki and it's good for everything so far. And honestly, it's the only way I could sleep sometimes is I'll do a Reiki session on myself and I have some weird physical issues with sleep problems, and after a Reiki session I'll feel totally like relieved. So
Wow.
but on a side note, you were mentioning that you're wishing that you could see numbers and something else better. And I'm just wondering if we can ask someone else. Can we ask
Bashar?
some who?
Bashar?
I was thinking Bashar, but I don't know if he would know.
He's like, I'm here. Hello. Hello. I'm here. Would you know how to pull numbers effectively? Yes, I would have to align my vibration to the highest mathematical equation and then work my way down. So I would have to align with that vibration and then tell them to interpret it to me in the simplest form.
Well, but my question is does Bashar think that you, with your psychic abilities, would benefit from using a crystal ball?
No, that's a good question.
And can crystal balls actually be used to view, I don't know, remote view or view into other dimensions?
Crystal balls be used to remote view or view into other dimensions? No, it's a prop. Okay, this is a good question. So back in the day when, you know, this stuff was really taboo and people could get killed, instead of seeing the images in our head, right, we would have to say we look into the crystal ball. If you say you see images in your head, they don't know if you're crazy or if you're a fortune teller. So
Right.
therefore you could be disposed of.
Oh yeah.
The crystal ball was just a prop, a symbol to be able to give information, but you were actually still seeing it in your third eye or in your heart chakra.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And
That's a good question.
let's actually migrate to Archangel Metatron. Can you pull in Archangel Metatron?
Yes.
Let me know how you got.
Okay.
How's he doing?
Yeah, good.
What is Metatron doing in the universe today?
He already answered that question before you asked it. Isn't that funny? I'm healing loads of people today. A lot of people rely upon me.
And then just to validate some previous information, because I, for some reason, remember a lot of this stuff. Can you ask Metatron if he has a soul?
Yeah. So no.
Cool. That's what we got in the past too.
Oh, okay.
Why? Yeah. Why doesn't Metatron have a soul?
Why don't you have a soul? Because it's just a conscious mind construct.
Why? Why can a conscious mind construct actually heal people?
Why can't a conscious mind construct actually? It's the belief system that's held within that conscious mind construct. It's a higher vibrational frequency, and people are tapping into that frequency to promote their healing.
So the fact that people believe it's real makes it real, and then makes that thing have a consciousness, and that consciousness wants to help people.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
So can you ask Metatron if he has an identity that's unique to himself?
Do you have an identity that's unique to yourself? No, the identity is whatever we give in human form.
Okay, well, pulling into where I'm leading this is, can you ask Metatron if he is very well versed in mathematics?
No.
Oh, weird. So, that's so weird. Watch, let me show you something. So this is like one of my favorite videos I've seen. It's Metatron channeled through Robert Gauthier, which is one of my favorite channelers, and that's how I talk to people like Eridif with Liz and some other entities that Liz doesn't like. But this guy is how we found those entities. Anyways, I just want to verify with the entity you're talking to if it is the same entity that came through Robert during this session. So let's see.
It won't. You probably won't be able to hear that because of the share screen and the Zoom. What was the answer?
Oh, the answer or the question?
Sorry, what was the question to him or the answer that he gave?
Well, first of all, let me click stop share just so you guys can hear it, hopefully. And that'll part one of the experiment to see if you can even hear it or not. So let me stop sharing and then let me see if you can hear it.
A doorway between levels of consciousness.
Can you hear that?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, so right now, Robert Gauthier is channeling Metatron, and I just want to play like 10 seconds of it and then ask the Metatron that you have a question. So I'm just going to play like 10 seconds.
When you look at all the terms you've been taught from the entities you've spoken to, Trev and Ardif, they teach you about densities and dimensions and matrix. Mm-hmm. Matrix is a term we wouldn't use, but it's a term that we can use for convenience now. Sure.
So can you ask the Metatron that you're talking to if that entity you're talking to is who channeled through Rob that day?
Yes, that is correct.
So during this video, Metatron through Rob is talking a whole lot about math and the ideas that are built into the Metatron symbol that people look at. But when we're talking to him now, he claims to have like no real knowledge about it. Why does Metatron through Robert present like mathematical genius
through Robert. Because that's what he understands Metatron to be. He equates Metatron with mathematics. I don't know a lot about Metatron. And if it's a conscious mind construct, this is what I'm getting. That means it's a multifaceted entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he could be pulling on one part of the personality of the entity, and I'm pulling on another part of the personality of this conscious mind construct, this entity.
Yeah. And that's actually important.
Actually makes sense.
And that's actually an important part that we have to clarify with some of our probes, because you might be getting only piece of a pie of a certain entity, But can you ask? You might as well ask Metatron. Why not? If Robert is doing full, what do you call it? Full channeling, where they are just fully taken over.
Oh, the trance channeling?
Yeah, is Rob during this Metatron channeling? Is he doing trance channeling?
Yes.
So
I don't do that.
While a person, now let's switch to source for the question. When a person does trance channeling, do their own personal beliefs affect the information that comes through the channeled information?
Yes, that is correct.
And would source say that the highest quality information comes through trance, whatever you call it?
The reliability of the information, is that through trance? No.
Interesting.
It depends on the person who's doing it.
Yeah, I feel like trance is where it's at. I think it's probably my favorite, whatever you want to call it, channeling style, like that I would want to, watch. That's Abraham, Abraham Hicks. That's Cryon through forgot his name, and Bashar through Daryl Anka. Rob Gauthier channels Treb, Eridif, Metatron, and a couple other individuals from outer space. And all those guys all do trance, and I just love the information that comes out of it. So I'm just a cookie of information, my personal interest. But anyways, that's all I got from my long story short. I was trying to see if Metatron could help you with numbers. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, what can you? Yes, yes. Yes, it can. It can.
But since we got that it's a construct, I'm wondering if there's a math genius, besides Bashar, that you would enjoy talking to that would help you pinpoint numbers. Can you ask maybe Jesus, who would be a person that you could use often for number stuff?
Is there a person I could use? No. I'm going to have to work on increasing my psychic ability in order to obtain the numbers. But, location work also. I love, if I could locate stuff down to the square foot.
Honestly, I think Bashar would be able to help with location stuff.
Possibly. No. Well, because they don't really have concept of time and space. That's why you have to use remote viewing. Because remote viewing puts time and space on things that have no concept of it. There's a way to do it. I just need to work on it. But I think that this was really such an informative video. I love the Reiki healing.
Cool.
And I think that everybody should try Mr. Robot's Reiki healing. After tonight, I'm sold. Seriously, that was so awesome. So if you would like to get in touch with Mr. Robot, I highly recommend. If that was my 5-minute session, I can't imagine what you would do in 20 minutes, man. That would probably like take off to the moon.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the 20, and then the normal session is 45 minutes. So anyways, people can message me at moongrass777@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's moongrass777@gmail.com. I'll drop that in the comments section as well.
Cool.
For those of you that want to get in touch with him. Of course, subscribers, you just tag him on the Discord, right? He's there.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I really do. I'm gonna book some with you for sure. I love this. And the fact that you picked up on my feet, I mean, that's really funny that you did that, because whenever I have a sensitivity now, it's like straight to my feet. It's really weird. So thank you very much. This was awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, just don't forget to ground your feet, because people usually ground and they think of their whole body or their center chakra and core of the earth to the heart chakra, but I personally like to ground each aspect. So I even ground my aura, and like I actually also make a shield around the aura, and I ground that as well. So try to be as grounded as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I feel so privileged, as I'm sure everybody listening to you also feels very privileged to have this information that you put out every week without fail. So thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, on a closing note, when I first discovered that I could do this, I was so mind blown, because I can literally feel energy flowing through me that I would just go up to like random people and try to heal them and stuff, because I was like, I was like someone you'd read about in the Bible, like I was totally enveloped in it, and I was healing people from a distance all around me, walking through Home Depot. There's some heavily disabled person walking right next to me. I can heal them while I'm driving or whatever, and it's hard to convince people to do it though. So it's people don't really believe that it's possible to transfer energy from one spot to another, but
well, I'm living proof that you can. That was amazing. I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Have a good night, and sleep well, and actually let me know how you feel tomorrow too.
Yeah. Okay, great.